What's going on? Welcome to the Outlaw Radio Show. My name is Zach Adams. I am joined tonight by Mr. Creighton Vaughn. Creighton, welcome to the Outlaw Radio Show.
Why, hello.
Yeah, you had to get that mic.
Pleasure.
I got to you quick. So, what you're watching, if you're new with us, is you're watching the live stream of the recording of a radio program. So, Outlaw Radio is a nationally syndicated radio show. We have wonderful radio partners, networks across America that air this show. It's not live; it's pre-recorded. And so, a few years ago, I guess middle of last year, we decided to live stream the recording of the radio show. We send 4 blocks of audio to his productions. Josh Brown and his wonderful team produce those audio files into a radio show. When they're done, when they've put it on their server for syndication, we take the 2 files back, 4 into 2, and then we take the 2 and put them together and release it as a podcast. So Outlaw Radio, the Outlaw Radio Show, exists as a radio program, as a podcast, and as a live stream. So we're glad that you're joining us tonight. We will be recording a radio show, and you're joining us as kind of the audience. Creighton is the man kind of behind the live stream. Creighton, kind of explain how all of this works.
So basically, we have a bunch of cameras set up that we stream to on both YouTube and Facebook.
The easiest way to find the YouTube channel is to just go to outlawradio.live. And then if you want to watch on the stream on Facebook, it's facebook.com/the Radio Outlaw. And on those 2 platforms, what's fun about it is, and I'll hand it back over to you,
that I am in the chat, so that if you are watching and have anything you'd like to say, or just say you're here, you can do that. Like, we know Pastor Bob is here. Hi, Pastor Bob. And it's a lot of fun.
So up until this point, we've had 2 cameras. And so we've had this shot that you're looking at. And then we've had a very wide shot of the rest of the studio, in which Creighton has been in. And then we have 2 of our brothers, Nick and Derek, both of which are not with us tonight. Both are under the weather. They're also on the show. So we have the kind of 2 angles. So you see me, and then you see the guys in the studio, and we were able to interact. What's fun is this new shot that you're seeing, and Creighton, go ahead and cut to it. This is
yours or mine, because we have 2 new shots.
Well, that's true. That's true. This is just a new shot, simply because the guys aren't here. This will be kind of a rare shot. But the new normal for you, because you're going to now be
the very pretty shot of me and my luscious beard.
I see. I see.
Yes.
I see. So this is
hello.
So what we've done is we actually have added a new camera to the mix, and so Creighton now has his own camera, and he feels all special about that.
I absolutely do. I feel like I deserve my own camera.
Yes, Creighton has his own camera. And new position in the studio. Actually, you migrated about 6 feet to your left by right.
Yeah, if now I have like a nice partition between me and the riffraff.
The riffraff.
Yes.
That's probably a good way of branding them. We should brand them. They're not the studio audience. They're the riffraff.
The riffraff. We
do miss Nick and Derek. Hope they get feeling better and should be back with us next week. All things considered. Creighton, I don't know how you feel about it. Again, at the beginning of the show, just with the live stream, we bantered just a little. Give people time to catch on to the stream. We have a logo that goes up and a countdown, trying to give people time to catch up with us. But at this juncture, I say we record a radio show. What do you say?
I mean, that's why I came. So,
well, you probably didn't have anything else to do.
I literally didn't.
Although I guess we should say that we both are rocking his productions.
Yes.
Swag.
Yes, his productions.
I really feel like we should get a discount on our production bill for product placement, but I don't think Josh he's not gonna go for that.
Nah, I doubt it.
I did send him one of the new T-shirts though, which is great. So
you see, that might get us like a product redistribution.
Yeah, whatever. Let's record a show. You ready?
Yeah, man. Let's do it.
First block of audio is 14 minutes. And with today's topic, I'm going to kind of be dependent upon you quite a bit here.
Boy, that doesn't make me nervous.
So
cool.
you kind of need to you need to step up your game and really kind of help set the stage for what we want to talk about, or we could go in all kinds. If I start riffing, there's no telling where we're going to land.
Are you saying that I should stop you if you do?
No, I'm saying you just need to
just be heads up.
Get the train rolling. That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
All right. I'm going to hit some music here. We're going to count down and jump in. Here we go. Again, 14 minutes. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the Outlaw Radio Show. My name is Zach Adams, and I pastor a church located just outside of Athens, Georgia. The name of the church is Calvary 316. If you're local, come be my guest one Sunday morning. Our service begins at 10:30. If, let's say, you're not local, you don't live in Georgia, you don't live in the greater Athens area or outside of Atlanta, but maybe you don't have a church to go to, and you're looking for some place that you and me taught God's word, check us out online. We live stream our service. The easiest way to find us is just to go to calvary316.live or facebook.com/calvary316. All of this you can find from our website, which is calvary316.com. Very easy to find. Again, if you're local, don't have a church, come hang out with us. If you are not local, looking for Bible teaching, check us out digitally. And then I would amend, find a church. Find a church that you can plug into, even if maybe you need to supplement that by getting Bible teaching elsewhere. You do need, a church is more than just a service. It's more than just a production, a performance, a teaching, a lesson. Church is a community of believers. Christianity was not designed by the Lord to be a go-it-alone proposition. You do need a community of believers. And really, after a year-long pandemic, social distancing, loneliness, isolation, I think it's now more than ever that community is important. And finding people that you can connect with that share a particular worldview, a way of viewing life, a way of viewing our ultimate destiny. And so I would encourage you, again, you can join us online. That's awesome, but find a church to go to or community of believers to connect with. That's very, very important. I do hope that wherever you're listening or however you're listening, whether you're listening on one of our wonderful radio partners or you're listening via the podcast. Every episode of the Outlaw Radio Show, it's a radio show, is podcasted in its entirety. You can subscribe, download the podcast by visiting Apple Podcasting, Spotify, Google Play, really whatever platform you choose, you can find us. So wherever you're listening, however you're listening, or if you're watching, if you're joining us every Wednesday night at 8 p.m., we live stream the recording of the Outlaw Radio Show. And so, again, if you're listening on the radio or you're listening on the podcast, check us out. Again, 8 o'clock Wednesday nights, we live stream what you're listening to. We do that on YouTube, as long as YouTube allows us and doesn't censor us. Easiest way to find our YouTube channel is to go to outlawradio.live, subscribe, leave comments and feedback, or we also stream on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/The Radio Outlaw. So either of those two platforms, join us Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. Regardless, I do hope you stay with me over the next hour as we do something that we feel is fresh, is a bit different, and that's discuss relevant topics that are going on in our world in a very honest, genuine, and what we believe to be biblical way. That's not to say that everything that's shared on the show or every opinion that I articulate, you're going to agree with. And that's kind of the beauty, I think, of Christianity that gets lost from the world's perspective. The world often looks at us and says that we're kind of monolithic in our thought, that we all think and believe the same way about the same thing. Now, true, granted, there are essential beliefs, things that you need to believe to be a Christian, but there are a lot of areas, especially when you're talking about taking principles and applying them to culture, where you do kind of dive in, kind of wade into the gray. And so there's room for divergence and diversity of thought. I would never say that someone that is a Democrat or someone that voted for Joe Biden, which I didn't, I would never say that that person's not a Christian just because of how they voted. I think that that's wrong. I think that kind of reveals a real problem within Christianity, this polarization that happens within our own tent. I do think that there are principles that I would need to discuss about life regarding someone that might have voted for Joe Biden. But at the same time, those same people might have questions about me and the fact that I voted for Donald Trump, and that's fine. And we can agree to disagree, and we can disagree agreeably. And I think that as long as we keep the main thing, and that's Jesus and the good news, the gospel, that's what we've been commissioned to go into the world with, the gospel of Jesus Christ, the good news, that while all men might be lost in our sin, Jesus came so that we might be found, that there was no sacrifice we could make to reconcile ourselves with the Creator. Jesus made one sacrifice that was good enough for all. And that if we place our faith in that work and our trust that his sacrifice to atone for our sin was enough, that's the main thing. That's the good news. That's the gospel, God's grace, that he saves us not because of us, but in spite of us, that he loves us, not because of anything that we do, but because of everything that Jesus did. Again, that's the good news. The grace of Jesus Christ is the one thing that Christians have that's different than anything the world has to offer. And so we should keep the main thing. So again, I'm going in circles here with the introduction, but I just want to hammer home the idea that you can listen to this program, and yes, you're going to get my thoughts. You're going to get my perspective. You're going to get my opinion. You're going to get all of those things, hopefully based in some principles I derive from Scripture, but it's okay to disagree. And in fact, if you do disagree, I would love to hear from you. Would love to get your thoughts. If you go to outlawradio.org, which is our website, outlawradio.org, you can share those thoughts. Our email address is info@outlawradio.org. Again, you can get links to the Facebook page, the Twitter account. Again, outlawradio.org. In regards to today's episode, I am, as always, joined by my brother, my partner in crime, my dear friend, Creighton Vaughn. Creighton, welcome to the Outlaw Radio Show.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
So you were over here the other day. I believe we were watching the Hawks game, which is really a demonstration of long-suffering love on your part, because you are not a sports fan.
Not at all.
But you happen to be a dear friend, and I was watching the game, and you had nothing to do. And so you wanted to hang out with me, and I was watching the game. So you pseudo-watched the game with me, but we hung out.
Yeah. I pseudo-watched the game. That's a good word for it.
I watched the game. You didn't, but we had a cool conversation. In fact, it was in the studio, which doubles as kind of our church office and a lot of other things, kind of a local hangout. And really thought, man, in the heat of the moment, that we should have just put up the mics, hit live stream, and have just rolled out that conversation. And what really spawned the conversation was I thought something that was pretty funny. And that is the fact that my kids, so if you're new to the show, I have 3 kids. Quincy, my firstborn, my Christmas Eve baby, he's 9 years old. And then I have Theodore, who has just the sweetest heart in the world. Our Theodore Joseph Adams. He is truly our gift from God. Long story, and how we had Theo, but God bless us. He is our gift from God. Theodore is 6. And then we have Mabel, who's 2. I finally got the daughter that I always wanted, and she is incredibly spunky. No doubt about it. But my sons, so we have kind of the front dining room of our house. No one uses a dining room anymore. And so during the pandemic, it's like, man, we need more space for the kids to do schoolwork, to be able to hang out, socialize, versus just their bedroom or our living room. And so we took the dining room, sold the table, sold the chairs, and we bought a couch, put in a flat screen TV, kind of made it kind of how would you describe it? A playroom, I guess.
It's like the 21st century version of a playroom. It's got a switch. Like it's like a playroom, but it's more like a, I don't know. It's like whatever the residential version of an internet cafe is.
It's kind of like a little boy man cave.
Yes, that sounds terrible, but that's exactly what.
But my wife did all the decor, and they have to keep it clean. And what's nice is that it's in kind of the open area. So you've got one side of it opens into our kitchen, the other one kind of into our foyer, and so we're able to keep an eye on the kids with what they're watching on TV. And I'll never forget several months ago, maybe even a year ago at this point.
Time runs together.
Time really does run together, especially during 2020 and into 2021. But I think I was watching the news. I don't know exactly what I was doing. I was in the other room, and I mean, I heard my two sons, I mean, just doubled over laughing. I mean, they were just, I mean, you know, gut laughing, crying.
It hurts your abs.
Yeah, where it hurts your abs. Where, I mean, they're rolling over top of each other. They're dying. I mean, just dying. And so I look at my wife and I'm like, you should go see what they're watching, because they have access. It's limited access, but they have access to YouTube and Disney Plus and Netflix and some other things, Amazon Prime. And so I had no idea what they were watching, but I've got it all restricted. But they were just losing it. And so I said, Jess, go check, make sure they're not watching something inappropriate. Like, you know, YouTube videos of fart noises, which would also make a 9 and 6-year-old double over in laughter. Also would do the same thing for a 20-year-old.
Right. I was going to say, guys are guys. We don't grow up that much.
So I send Jess. Jess goes, and about 5 minutes pass, and the laughter has continued. And then it gets there's now like a female addition to the laughter, because Jess got distracted by whatever they were watching, got sucked into it, and now has also losing it, just laughing hysterically over what's being watched. So finally, I'm at the point where I was like, okay, I've got to go find out what's going on. So I go into our front room, and I'm enamored by what's happening on the screen. Because it sent me immediately, like I had immediate flashbacks to youth ministry. So I was a youth pastor, and Creighton knows this because he was in my youth group. I was a youth pastor for a decade before I took over Calvary 316 and became the lead pastor. Loved youth ministry. If I had to pick between high school, middle school ministry, I would choose middle school ministry 100 times out of 100, because they're awkward as all get out, and they know it. The only difference between a middle schooler and a high schooler is high schoolers are equally awkward. They have just forgotten how awkward they are. So
confirm.
Yes. So there's like this they're totally awkward, but they have forgotten it. Whereas a middle schooler's like, yeah, the boys are half the size of the girls at the same age. Their faces are exploding. Their voice is cracking. Their feet are bigger than their body. And so they trip over everything. So it's like, this is a terrible time of my life. And so let's just do this together. And I love middle school ministry for that point. I think it's hard to get volunteers for middle school ministry because of the flashbacks adults have of that time. I think they black out.
As someone who lasted way longer in that period than they should have, and has also worked with middle schoolers, I can confirm that as well.
So I walk into the den, and Jessica's dying laughing. The boys are rolling over on the floor. And I'm looking at the screen, and it's a group of guys that are doing basically youth group on YouTube. And when I say youth group, they're doing like the quintessential youth group icebreakers. I mean, they are like everything that you would do in youth group or youth camps, or like if you've ever volunteered at Young Life. Like these are the icebreakers. These are the things to build community development, to have fun, to laugh, to goof off. And so I'm watching, and I'm like, I could have made a career out of this. I could have gotten paid. And then, I mean, within 5 minutes, I'm now on the floor laughing. And we spent like the next 3 hours as a family watching episode after episode after episode of Dude Perfect. Now, the other night where we were chit-chatting, I asked you, I said, hey, have you ever heard of Dude Perfect? And your reply was,
oh, of course I've heard of Dude Perfect. I've been on the internet before.
Which was hilarious, because probably for the first time, something that I was introduced to from my 9 and 6-year-old was confirmed to be a thing before I knew from my 28-year-old millennial friend. So we're going to continue that thought. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Show.
Oh, man. I'm going to enjoy this episode. I love talking about YouTube. I do.
I thought that was I set the stage, right? Set the stage.
Absolutely. I thought that was very good. People who don't know what Dude Perfect is have a, reason to keep listening.
Absolutely. Well, we'll get into more of that. So you ready?
Absolutely.
All right, 3, 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Outlaw Radio Show. I'm joined by my partner in crime, Creighton Vaughn.
Hello. I am still here.
So Creighton, I brought up Dude Perfect the other night. We were hanging out, and kind of I kind of explained my exposure through my kids, which is hilarious because while my two sons watch Dude Perfect, like I don't think that there's a YouTube channel that I've enjoyed that my kids enjoy, like not just where I'm faking it or like trying to find commonality
or enjoying it because they're enjoying it.
Right. Like something that I would watch on my own. Like recently, like the new Mighty Ducks TV show that they put out on Disney Plus, I would watch that on my own.
Oh, I have not watched that at all.
It's fantastic. My kids love it. We've introduced them to Mighty Ducks. I would watch this on my own. Same thing with The Mandalorian. My kids love The Mandalorian. So it's okay. So there's a few things, but YouTube particularly, it's kind of its own breed of entertainment.
Yeah, it's very striated generally in who enjoys what content.
So kind of explain to the audience in case the audience is like, Dude Perfect. This is not a promo for Dude Perfect, by the way.
I mean,
we're talking about things we like, and this is a culturally relevant thing because of the massive following that they have on YouTube.
Yeah, if they want to throw some advertising bucks
Right.
towards us, that's
hey, we will send you some Outlaw Radio t-shirts. So kind of explain what Dude Perfect is and kind of your exposure to it.
So I was exposed to it first, like maybe 10 years ago, maybe that long. I don't actually know, but a while ago. And it was like 5 dudes who just did ridiculous trick shots.
They haven't been doing this for a decade.
I think they have.
They really? Okay. So they got their start by trick shots, right?
Yeah, they got their shot. I remember the first video I watched was like household trick shots. And it would be like throwing a piece of bread into a toaster across the room through a hoop and down some stairs or something ridiculous. Just ridiculous things where it's like, they can do this apparently. I have
read that the trick shots take like 8 hours of filming before they actually get one. Like,
I can absolutely believe that. They did one where they threw a basketball off of what's the really big dam?
The Hoover Dam?
They threw a basketball off of the Hoover Dam into a regulation goal at the bottom of the dam, which is a ridiculous thing that apparently people can do. And watching that is a lot of fun.
So was the basketball goal part of Hoover Dam? I mean, was it the dam basketball goal?
I knew you were going to make that joke. And I don't think so. I think they brought it from home.
Okay. I was just double checking.
Yeah. So I got introduced to this because it was just at some point somebody was like, have you seen this thing? And so I did the same thing you did. I fell into a YouTube hole where I watched the video that was sent to me and then I watched 7 more of them. And then every now and then I just go back and I watch 4 or 5 or 10, depending on how long it's been.
Now they don't do just trick shots anymore. I mean, it's a whole thing.
Oh yeah. They have a whole franchise now. They have 3 different YouTube channels. They do trick shots. They do stereotypes, which is a very fun series, which is like golfing stereotypes. You have the really slow group. You have the group that just loses their mind because of the really slow group, etc.
And they act out all of these different groups.
Oh yeah. They do it to the nth degree.
A little hyperbole.
Losing it.
Yeah.
They also do like competitions where the 5 guys will all try and do the same thing or a series of things, see who's better at what. And it's
like the Wheel of Unfortunate.
Yes.
Where it's like a whole bunch of terrible things. And if you lose something, you've got to roll the Wheel of Unfortunate and you get put in a box filled with snakes or
get like your tapioca pudding dumped over you and you have to run through a field
or your eyebrows get shaved off.
Yes, exactly. They do all kinds of things and it's good, clean fun is what it is.
And that's what I think as a parent, I absolutely 100% appreciate about Dude Perfect. And that's kind of why we're talking about this today, because there's not a lot of wholesome media, wholesome content. Really, really things without an agenda for kids, but for adults. I mean, we live in a very odd media market.
Yeah, I mean, things are split between either like nearing upon degenerate or like what's the Left Behind guy's name? I can never remember.
Kirk Cameron.
Or Kirk Cameron, like
Cheesemo.
saccharine sweet nonsense.
Christian Hallmark.
Yes.
So you do have kind of those polar extremes. Now, these guys decided to start putting these YouTube videos out, which is kind of the beauty of YouTube, because there's not a network that put them on. There was not like some scout or talent agent that discovered them. I mean, this is kind of the quintessential stereotypical self-made program. I mean, they just started doing this, but it's taken off.
Yeah, they really fit into like the stereotypical YouTube mold or YouTuber mold, where they started making something with like a $40 GoPro and have now built this empire where they've got
a massive studio, warehouse, all kinds of stuff that they've got.
Yeah, and millions and millions and millions of subscribers that watch them every week or every.
How
2
many
weeks.
subscribers do they have on YouTube?
Currently, I checked this earlier today. Let me double check my numbers.
You did some research about these guys, so kind of explain who they are a little bit.
Yeah. So start off with, they have 56 million subscribers. They're the 16th.
Wait, you said 56 million?
Yes, 56 million.
I mean, you do realize that they are getting to kind of the Outlaw Radio tier of popularity.
Yeah, if they get a couple more subscribers, we'll have them on the show.
A couple more. 56 million.
Yeah, which is larger than the population of some small countries.
That means when they release a video, if all subscribers watch it, it's the viewership of the Super Bowl.
Yeah. I think I was looking at early and I didn't write this number down. They have something like 63 billion plays overall.
That's insanity.
They are the 16th most subscribed YouTube channel in the world. Like 16.
And how much money roughly have they made doing this?
According to Google, they're worth around $50 million, which is a lot of money.
Again, what you enjoy about it is it's funny and it's entertaining. I'm assuming that these guys are Christians because of just their general demeanor, the way that they seem to handle themselves, their presentation. They recently released a music video. They wrote a song and did a music video. I mean, they get their toes in all kinds of stuff, and they're doing live shows. I know my brother-in-law, my sister, their kids, who also love Dude Perfect, are going to one of the live shows, I think in Jacksonville, Florida this summer, which is also kind of an insane thing that they're now doing live shows.
Right, on the ends of a pandemic.
But, and again, making sure we pivot to why we're discussing this, there is a market for wholesome content. You know, I go back to the Passion of the Christ, and that was one of the things we were talking about. The Passion of the Christ, Mel Gibson really stuck to the script, and when I say the script, kind of the biblical narrative. You know, Mel Gibson, regardless of how you feel about him personally, a brilliant director, filmmaker, wrote a script about Jesus, the Passion of Jesus, that was very biblical, and as a result, it is the highest grossing movie of all time. I mean, we're talking about it made millions and millions and millions and millions of dollars. And even today, it's still making millions of dollars because of the Christian community and this desire of the Christian community to have film, to have art that is marketed towards them. You know, coming off the Passion of the Christ, what was just maddening is you had, you know, oh, we're going to do this movie about Noah. It was Darren Aronofsky, I think it was his name.
Unfortunately.
And as soon as I found out who was going to do the movie, I was like, a whole bunch of Christians were getting excited about this. This is like, hey, they finally realized that there's a market here, that Christians also pay to go to the theater. And as soon as they announced who the director was, I was like, oh, he's a total secular atheist, and this is going to be garbage. And sure enough, it was hot garbage.
I mean, hot garbage is not strong enough.
Yeah,
it was a sun level dumpster fire.
This is middle of July, heat of the summer, a 5 diaper trash bag.
Yes,
sitting in the sun at the street. It was terrible. And then they announced, yes, we're going to do another basically biopic on Moses. I don't even remember what the name of it was.
Was that the Gods of Egypt?
The Gods of Egypt.
Kings of Egypt, something or other.
And again, you're like, okay, well, Charleston Heston did a good Moses pick. They stuck to the script. That was like 1,000 years ago. But at the same time, all right, we give this a chance. I watched 50 minutes of it, 30 minutes of it. I didn't even get into an hour, and I turned it off. And I was like, this is also, like, it's maddening, because it's like, why can't you just do, like, you're trying to market this to Christians, because, I mean, if you're in the secular world, who cares? Like, why do I care about this? Why would I be interested in a movie about that? So you're marketing it unapologetically to a Christian community, and then you insult the Christian community by completely messing with the biblical narrative, the biblical script. And it's like in what world, in what context does that work? And people turn it off. And you just don't see, I can't name the last big Christian film, like big one.
I think it would be Left Behind in 2003.
Okay, I'll rephrase that to big one. Yes, you get Pure Flix, and there is kind of some niche websites and companies that are trying to produce Christian films, but like the industry, like we had the Oscars the other day, and no one saw any of those movies
at all.
And it's like, well, wait a second. Why don't we nominate movies where people actually go watch them? Why don't we make movies where people will go watch them? Don't go anywhere. We're going to continue this thought with the Outlaw Radio Show.
Yeah, the Oscars, man. I saw
didn't watch a second.
No one did. Literally no one did. I only saw people talking about how no one was watching it. I read the list of movies, never heard of any of them.
To me, the big headline when it came out about the ratings, the numbers, I wasn't surprised about the 50% decline.
Yeah, over
viewership.
Every year it's been 50
like,
cents.
To me, I felt like that's just the mainstream media pushing a narrative, not knowing who their audience was. Because if they understood who their audience was, the headline would have read, "Can you believe 9 million people still watch this?"
No, that's absolutely true.
It's like, oh, the headline, shocking, half the audience for the Oscars disappeared. And it's like,
there's still an audience.
No, there's still an audience for the Oscars. Like, who cares about this at all? Like, these people are so out of touch with mainstream America. It's like,
no, it's unreal. Which also leads into why they would think that the Noah movie would do well, given that they introduced like angels encased in rocks at some point.
Or good
something.
Grief. Well, I also saw, so the NBA, which is they're also a dumpster fire.
Yeah,
because of the wokeistas and the wokeistas. I think the senator from Louisiana said that, Kennedy, the other day, and I was like, that's a good way of saying it, the wokeistas. It's become a social justice platform. LeBron James is a racist against white people, and that's become evident. People just don't want to watch it. They've tried to spin it in the hypocrisy about, they make a ton of money in China.
China doesn't have any human rights violations or anything.
Nike has problems with social justice in America, but has no problems using slave labor to make tennis shoes. Like, Seriously. It's the blatant hypocrisy in it that most people are just over at this point. Anyway, my point is that the NBA's tried to spin all of this by saying, people are just cutting the cord. They're just, the audience has just shrunk, that people don't have an appetite for this anymore. What's nuts is then the NFL has their draft last week. The draft. This is teams selecting college kids to potentially be like, this is the NBA draft, the NFL draft.
It's the least interesting thing that happens in professional football.
It quadrupled like the NBA finals for last year in ratings.
No
it's
way.
It's like, and the NFL pumped the brakes, realized the social justice thing is not good for business, which again, now Coca-Cola is doing the same thing because of the backlash that happened in Atlanta from removing the All-Star game. But it's like, there was always a component where we believe capitalism would work because greed drives it. So like
right.
Capitalism will keep a fair balance because deep down people are greedy and want more money. What's crazy is that people like are making decisions not based upon wanting more money, but like on a woke agenda where they lose money. And like at that point, capitalism doesn't work anymore when you're not making decisions as a corporation based upon your shareholders, but like a fringe group of wackadoodles. Again, let's get back to the show and we'll get into this. You ready to kind of talk some?
Sure. Let's do it.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Outlaw Radio Show. I'm joined by Creighton, my partner in crime. Creighton, let the audience know a little bit about what we're talking about and why, really.
So we are talking about specifically Dude Perfect, which is a fantastic YouTube video of 5 Christians who do ridiculous things with sports. And on a more broader topic, Christians in new media would be the way that I would describe it. And how like these guys have amassed a 56, 58, I don't remember what number I said earlier, 56 million subscriber channel, as well as a whole empire of things, and how we can see that more because there's obviously a market for clean, wholesome, non-agenda driven content.
And that's what really, between breaks here, we were talking about, the interesting irony in like this woke capitalism. Capitalism has always functioned on the idea that people make decisions on the bottom line. CEOs, owners make decisions on the bottom line. That I would even say morals to a large extent kind of play themselves on the back burner versus the bottom line.
I mean, yeah, in a lot of ways, if you look at what Oreo does with their advertisements now versus 10 years ago, you can see that during Pride Month, that morals are based on revenue.
Well, and again, you look at the marketing to transgenderism. It's like, I mean, you're dealing with such a minuscule percentage of the population as opposed to alienating a very large segment of the population. It's one of the things that like, the MLB, so Major League Baseball made a moronic decision. And let me say that again, a moronic decision by choosing to remove the All-Star game from the city of Atlanta. And when I say the city of Atlanta, I really mean the Cobb County Braves, because they're not actually in the city of Atlanta. They moved out of the city of Atlanta to move to their season ticket holders who happen to fit a different demographic than the South Side of Atlanta. Different story, making decisions on ethics and moral. Black Lives Matter, but our season ticket holders are white, so we're going to move out of the black community and into the lily white community. But now that the state of Georgia decides that we're going to
protect voting rights,
put a common sense, voting act, to have it pass legislation, like we're going to do that. Like there was some mistakes that were made. There were some inconsistencies. It was a pandemic. We were trying to ebb and flow to make this work so that people could vote in the 2020 election. Some things worked, some things didn't. But to do this legally, we now need to pass some legislation, some common sense reforms. Some ideas work, some ideas need to be tweaked. They actually expanded voting rights. Like the bill expanded voting rights in the state of Georgia. The only thing that it did that drew ire was that it required voter ID. So the loopholes in the state of Georgia, if you go to vote in person, you got to show an ID. You got to show your driver's license or an ID in order to go vote. But you had all of these mail-in ballots that you could request that didn't have any type of signature verification or ID verification. And so such a system would be wrought with the potential for fraud or what's happened, where people are now questioning the legitimacy of the election, which is not good for anyone. And so they're trying to apply the same standards. There's like 19 days for early voting. Like they expanded a lot of things, the mail-in ballots, drop boxes, but Major League Baseball went with the Democratic line. People didn't even read that bill when they came out blasting it. Joe Biden, the president, said, this is not even Jim Crow. This is Jim Eagle, whatever the heck that means. Remember when he said that and you're like, what?
I try to forget most things he says, but yes, I do remember that.
Well, you and Joe Biden, he's just successful at forgetting most of the things that he says.
And I am woefully unsuccessful.
So he comes out and he calls this Jim Crow, and they come out and and there was all these falsehoods where people in Georgia are like, have you not read the bill? And then the Major League Baseball, they decide that they're going to punish Atlanta by removing the All-Star game out of protest for this expansion of voting rights in Georgia. And it's like, this is dumb. This doesn't make any sense at all. You're actually punishing the African-American minority community businesses in the area by removing this massive amount of revenue. What was crazy to me is that favorability for like the Major League Baseball went from like 50% with the Republicans to like 10% overnight and didn't change at all with the Democrats. So it's like they made a decision to implement a policy, not realizing that in doing so, we're going to alienate the people who actually watch us and buy our product, that are our actual consumers, and we're not going to gain any consumers. It was what was maddening about the NFL. The NFL, the whole business model was built on patriotism. And then they decided they're going to start taking knees during the national anthem. So you began alienating the people that you were marketing towards, and you didn't gain anyone. It wasn't like all the latte drinking baristas at Starbucks started becoming Raiders fans. Like, that didn't happen. Like, this is crazy. It wasn't like there was a huge uptick in the fan base, in the homosexual community, for the Dallas Cowboys. Like, I'm going to take a guess that they probably remain very stagnant. But it's insanity. Major League Soccer did the same thing. And I know a whole bunch of people that just turned it off. And so to me, like, getting back to topic, it's like we've had this belief in capitalism that greed will drive decisions, and we see the opposite. You have a show like Dude Perfect. Like, it's so hard to find television shows that I can let my children watch that don't have some type of an agenda, that aren't crass, that I don't have to explain things. Again, I brought up the Mighty Ducks movie. Not the movie, but the new TV show. Again, something that we've really enjoyed as a family watching together. But there was this whole scene, didn't need to be there, where there was this presentation of one of the kids, his two mothers. And it was like, there's such a small percentage of the population that identifies with that. But now thank you, Disney Plus. You're putting me in a situation where I now have to have a conversation with my 9 and 6-year-old that I don't exactly care to have at the moment. Like, you're now forcing a conversation on me by just trying to enjoy something on television that I would rather have when they're a little older and in a different context. Again, I coached a baseball team with Quincy. We had a kid on the team that had two moms. So they were at every game. We loved them. We cared for them. I disagreed with their lifestyle. I didn't say that to them. There was no need to. We're just playing Little League Baseball. But my kid was at an age where he's oblivious to this. He has no idea what any of this means. It's like, but you force it on people. You push it on people and define media. And then you have Dude Perfect that comes out, wholesome, funny, creative. And they have 56 million subscribers to their YouTube channel. And you're just sitting there thinking, like, why doesn't anyone get a clue that there is a market that's not being tapped into. You would have thought the Passion of the Christ would have revealed that. Dude Perfect is like the most extreme example of like, what in the world is going on? This makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite things about Dude Perfect is I can put on Dude Perfect and I don't have to worry about having to deal with like political agendas or things that aren't someone throwing a ball into a hoop from a long distance away.
It's the essence of entertainment, right? If you had to define entertainment, how would you define it?
Watching someone do something that I wish that I could do, or that I find interesting that someone does.
See, I would even apply it more broadly, because again, that wouldn't, like, you can watch Star Wars and none of that's applicable.
Yeah, but I wish that I could have a lightsaber.
Okay, that might be true. You know, to me, entertainment, like the whole idea is a temporary reprieve from reality.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like for me, I absolutely enjoy sports. I love watching sports. I don't go play any sports anymore because I'm overweight and slow, out of shape, and don't have health care, so I can't blow out a knee. Like I'm gonna limp around for the next year as my ligaments heal on their own. Like I just can't afford to get hurt. So I don't go play golf, but it doesn't take a whole lot of athletic ability to go do that. But I love baseball. I love watching the Hawks, and I love watching Georgia Bulldogs and the Falcons, although they irritate me. But I do it for what reason? I watch golf, the Kentucky Derby. I just want an escape. Like, I'm a pastor of a church. I'm a dad with little kids. I'm a husband. I have to pay bills. I live in a very politically polarized world. Like there's so much going on that stresses me out, that burdens me, that I carry, that like sometimes I just want to sit down and turn on the TV and watch a game and not have to think about any of that. I just want entertainment. I want an escape. And when you start working in all these other things, that's why politics and sports shouldn't mix, because it's like, that's not why I'm watching. And if you're going to force that on me, I'm not going to watch, because I'd rather watch my grass grow, because that's not entertaining. So anyway, we're going to wrap all this up. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to the Outlaw Radio Show. I hope this larger point we're articulating, I think I have a way of really tying it and bringing it home.
Okay. That sounds like a great way to lead into the next segment.
All right, 9:45. You ready?
Ready.
Why don't we go in by you giving a lead in about the live stream, kind of a plug for the live stream.
Okie doke. I can do that. I think
do the live stream and then also the podcast. Do okay. Both.
And let me put my face on the screen here.
Yeah, there you go.
Live stream is outlawradio.live.
Yes.
Cool.
3, 2, 1.
Hello and welcome to the Outlaw Radio. This is Creighton now talking. This is a terrible intro, but we're going to keep going.
We're not. We're going to pull a ripcord on that.
My goodness.
This is the Outlaw Radio. This is the Outlaw Radio Show. That was awful.
You know, I hate doing these. I'm going to pull the ripcord, and I think you should do this. I hate going into it. I hate starting it. I'm terrible at it. I don't want to do it.
I'll lead us and then pitch it to you.
Okay. My goodness.
We got to play to our strengths here. Hey, y'all. This is Outlaw Radio.
Hello, I'm Creighton. I don't do well under pressure.
Words are not my strong suit.
No, they're not.
All right, let's try this again.
My goodness.
3, 2, 1. Welcome back to the Outlaw Radio Show. Creighton, tell the folks about our live stream.
So we live stream on both Facebook and YouTube. The easiest way to find it would be to go to outlawradio.live or on Facebook at The Radio Outlaw, so that you can watch us. It is a Wednesdays at 8 p.m.
Eastern Standard Time.
Yes, Eastern Standard Time, because we still have, time zones for some reason that baffles me. We'd love to see you. We'd love to have you see us. You can put some names to faces, voices to faces, etc.
Faces to names also.
Yes. This is gonna be a good time.
So what's fun about the live stream is that between the blocks of audio that you're hearing, whether it's the radio or the podcast, there's a whole nother conversation that happens off air, but on the live stream. And as an easy example, so going into this last block of audio, I told Creighton, I said, hey, Creighton, why don't you lead us in with a plug for the live stream? And then we'll get back to the topic. And Creighton was like, yeah, I can do that. And so 3, 2, 1, we rolled it. And Creighton absolutely, how would you define it?
Have you ever seen one of those bloopers where the dude is running into outfield to try and catch a ball and he just runs straight into the wall and the ball drops like 30 feet behind him?
You pulled a Marcelo Zuna, as we would say as Braves fans.
Sure.
Yeah, it was awful to the point that we pulled the ripcord and started all over. But again, it's a funny moment, and these are things that you would never get on the radio because this is a polished broadcast, professional.
Yeah, this is the polished one.
This is and then same with the podcast. So live stream, it's fun. It adds a bit of color to what we're doing. So join us.
Some texture.
So kind of left off the subject about, like, you look at Dude Perfect. You look at The Passion of the Christ. You look at, very successful, wholesome product, media that, targets Christians, that markets to Christians, that appeals to Christians. And beyond just Christians, just people that don't want an agenda, people that want wholesome entertainment, that want to laugh, want to have a good time, don't want to be marketed something or pushed, have something pushed on them, or to have their perspectives influenced or warped in any particular way. So there's a huge market, and it's not being tapped into. And instead, we get all the stuff that we don't want. We get all kinds of content that's perverse, that's gross, and that interestingly enough is not reflective of society. One of the things that I do enjoy about maybe shows that are rough around the edges is how the better ones have been crafted where they do reflect a measure of reality. Because we're not getting paid for it. I'm not going to mention any of these shows in particular or by name, but there are really good TV shows that are raw, that you might classify as being rated R, but they're not glorifying sin. They're actually reflecting the reality of sin.
You would say that they're genuine or real.
Like, for example, there's one show, again, I can't mention it by name, but one show in particular where this guy, I mean, he's a dog. He's a police officer, but he's just a terrible human being. He's a terrible human being. He's got all kinds of issues. He's a serial cheater. His life is a train wreck. But what's interesting is that in no way, yes, they show his life unfolding, but in no way do they glorify him. They present a guy that is a disaster, and then they show the actual consequences. His wife divorces him. He can't see his kids. He ruins relationships because of substance abuse. He breaks friendships because he's manipulative. Like it. One of the things that I think is just it's terrible is media that glorifies sin by presenting it in a false sense. Your typical sitcom where it's like, yeah, I'm a total alcoholic, but don't seem to have any type of repercussions for my decisions. I'm actually the life of the party. Everyone wants to be friends with me. Or you get the gal that is sleeping around like a whore, but then doesn't have the natural consequences. They don't show her crying at night because of her loneliness. They don't show kind of her desperation. They don't show that she's acting out because of daddy issues. Like, it's just like, this is normal. This is carefree. This is fun. And it's like, no, none of that's real. That's what drives me nuts. And there's a reason for it. Like, there's a reason why we don't get the type of programming that could be very lucrative and marketable. It's because Satan controls. He's the principality and power of this air, of this world. Yes, if you're like, there seems to be, man, have you ever noticed there seems to be this agenda, like the media seems to be trying to craft our cultural perspective of homosexuality or transgenderism, or go back further, premarital sex or alcoholism. It's not in step with where everyone is. It seems to be 4 steps ahead, but it's like, man, who's behind this agenda?
Yeah, it's not the Illuminati. It's Lucifer.
It's Lucifer. And again, I am not one of those like the devil made me do it type of people, but like you look at this and you're like, this makes no sense. So why? And the reason is that like Satan is propagating a cultural rot.
It's one of those situations where it's like, I can't prove that they're doing this, but if this was their outcome that they wanted, like this would be the way that they would do it.
There are stats that have shown that when homosexuality was presented in a normal context on television and movies, when the stigma was kind of broken and you get the first gay couple and then the first gay kiss, it's almost like every single show has a gay person on it, which again is not necessarily reflective of society at large because the percentages don't break down like that. It's not like every friend group has a gay person in it. It's just not the reality. But there are stats that have shown that the normalization of it on screen did influence a greater normalization within society. We see the same thing happening with transgenderism. Again, something that you would have said 3 or 4 years ago even is completely fringe. And yet now we've got, drag queen daytime reading stories with children and drag, we've got this whole drag, propagation, this marketing. Like you have just a lot, like it's everywhere now.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I was growing up, it was when like gay marriage was legalized. I think I was a sophomore in high school, maybe a junior. And so all the way leading up to that, it became much more socially recognized.
Easy example. Cultures tries to get everybody to wear a mask, and immediately what did you see? Every commercial feature.
Masks.
People wearing masks. Interestingly enough, that seems to kind of be going away, which is ironic. Anyway, my whole point of the show is, hey, if you're a parent with kids, especially little boys, watch Dude Perfect, find their YouTube channel. I get nothing for this, but from one dad to another, it's fun, wholesome entertainment. And hopefully we can kind of articulate why this entire market share isn't being tapped into. And that's because there is an agenda behind our media, and it is wicked and it is evil, and we should be very careful with it.
Yeah, I would totally agree. Watch Dude Perfect. It's fantastic. It's a great time no matter how old you are. It's wonderful.
Great. Thanks for being on the Outlaw Radio
Show. Is always a pleasure.
Well, you've been listening again to Outlaw Radio, the Outlaw Radio Show. If you like what you heard, contact your local Christian radio station. Thank them that they're carrying this type of programming in your community. If you're listening on the radio, check out our podcast, Apple, Google, Spotify. If you're listening on the radio or listening on the podcast, take a second, check out the live stream recording of what you're listening to on our YouTube channel, Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Just go to outlawradio.live and be a subscriber. We really do want to hear from you, the listening audience. Questions, feedback, testimonials, the more the merrier. Go to outlawradio.org. Again, outlawradio.org. We'd love to hear from you. Once again, my name is Zach Adams. I hope you join me this time next week for more of the Outlaw Radio Show. And there you have it.
Yeah, another one in the books. Would you look at that?
Anything on the interwebs?
We have Amanda, who says that someone named Hudson loves Dude Perfect, but I'm not sure.
Oh, Amanda. Amanda and her husband Sean. Sean coaches baseball, Quincy's baseball team. He's one of the coaches, and they've been coming to the church over the last, really since Easter.
Gotcha. I think I know. I don't think I've met you yet, but I kind of see everyone, but I'm not very social.
Very, very cool people. So, so glad that you watched. And yeah, again, I watched Dude Perfect. So,
dude,
it's a very wide category. Anything else?
The other, like, if you're also into guns and you want someone who doesn't curse a bunch while doing gun stuff on YouTube, check out Demolition Ranch. because he's also a Christian. And he has that same kind of like, he just does things for fun and he doesn't have an agenda and it's clean.
You know, I will say this, and I think that we'll close with this thought. You know, I watched Dude Perfect, and without knowing their names or anything about them, reached the conclusion those guys have to be Christians.
I did the same, and I thought I was crazy until I looked it up.
And because they're, you know, we talk about being a witness. You know, being a witness is not always what you say. And it's not always what you do, although those are two components of it. Being a witness is also just being. You know, I think of Stephen in the book of Acts, not doing a thing, being stoned to death, that we're told his countenance shone like the sun, was not doing a thing. But what was inside of him, the light came radiating out. And, you know, like, I want that to be said of me, you know, where someone can just have an encounter with me, even if it's not even a conversation, be like, there's something different about that person. Like that there's this holy countenance, that there's like what's inside is somehow oozing forth, can be seen. I think that should be the goal of all Christians, that we should be a witness, not just by what we say or what we do, but by just who we are, that there should be something. Again, being salt, being light, there should be something about us, about our presence.
Not that praise is the goal of Christianity, because obviously it's not. But I think that is actually the highest praise that you can give a Christian. Like Billy Graham did great evangelism. You've got missionaries. I think being able to walk into a room and interact with a group of people and somebody being like, well, there's something weird there. Like that's not... He has something that I don't have. I think might be the highest praise that a Christian can have.
We, my dad and I are coaching Theodore's baseball team, which has been a lot of fun. And we coached Quincy's team last spring before Quincy went and played travel ball. So same ballpark, we coached Quincy in the age group above, and now we're coaching Theodore. And after, so our first practice, a little boy on the team, I don't know anything about him, comes to practice, sweet kid, cool kid. After practice, his dad comes up to me and he said, did you guys coach the Phillies last year in the older group? I said, yeah, absolutely. He goes, I'm so excited that my kid's on your team. Because you know what? Jesus comes shining out of you guys. And I didn't know his name. You know, it was just, and again, you're right. I mean, that's the great, I told my dad, it's like, that's the greatest compliment that you can get. It's like, hey, just, and I'll be honest, probably my dad more than me, because on the ball field, I'm probably the intense one. You know, I radiate Jesus's competitiveness to win.
You're the judgment. He's the mercy.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad's more the first incarnation and I'm more the second incarnation. But I agree. That's the thing that about the Dude Perfect guys is like, you just sense that like, man, there's something different, and not in a cheesy way. You know, I read an article about, there is such a thing called the Mormon glow. You heard about that Mormon glow?
I heard about that. There was some American Idol where for some reason I was paying attention, and there was somebody on there that they claimed was a Mormon, and it wasn't.
Well, they've actually done a study about the Mormon glow, and basically Mormons have a better complexion. They actually literally have a glow. Like they have a better complexion than your average person because they don't drink alcohol, nor do they drink caffeine. Like it's their actual religiously mandated diet that creates a unique countenance.
All right, so double up on the caffeine.
So double, yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, you can't have the Mormon glow because you're black.
It is not 1977. Okay, that joke. We're gonna get the Mormons after us.
Do you think Josh is gonna have to edit out is it the damn basketball goal?
He might.
He might. I don't know.
If he does, hi Josh. I like the
might.
shirt still. I wear it all the time.
I just was thinking about the Vegas vacation, Chevy Chase.
Yes.
Where they
as
go
soon
and
as
they
I mentioned the dam, I thought
they did the Hoover. It was the
gonna make
Hoover
that
Dam,
joke.
and he's like, we're in the damn elevator, and now we're walking down the damn hallway.
If you want to get some dam bait, you can go dam fishing. Cousin Eddie.
All right. Well, I'm gonna kind of hit some music there, and
let me sign off. Bye, y'all. It's always a pleasure.
I look forward to you guys being back with us next Wednesday, 8:00. Hopefully, we've got Nick and Derek back with us. God bless. Be safe. See you guys next Wednesday.